Kính chào các quý sư, quý cô và quý đạo hữu tới tham dự pháp đàm. Dạ, bây giờ chúng ta có thể bắt đầu buổi pháp đàm. Trước khi bắt đầu thì xin được phép nhắc các quý vị chúng ta kiểm tra điện thoại di động đã được tắt chuông chưa ạ? Các quý vị nào mới bắt đầu dùng phần tai nghe phiên dịch thì các quý vị lưu ý là có một chỗ để điều khiển âm thanh to nhỏ để các vị có thể tự điều khiển. Có thể hỏi đạo hữu ở bên cạnh nếu như quý vị không tìm thấy chỗ điều chỉnh ạ. Ở cái phần gần với góc tai ạ. Vâng, hôm qua thì cũng có rất nhiều đạo hữu muốn đặt câu hỏi, thì có đạo hữu nào muốn bắt đầu không ạ? Hôm qua rất nhiều người muốn đặt câu hỏi vào buổi chiều mà chưa kịp, vậy cô Trúc Thanh có thể bắt đầu trước. Các quý vị muốn đặt câu hỏi thì đừng đợi ha, cứ phải giơ tay, không đến lúc hết pháp đàm lại chưa có cơ hội.
Dạ, con kính chào Ajahn, ông John và bà Sarah và cùng tất cả mọi người. Thì con muốn hỏi là trong chú giải kinh Lậu Hoặc thì có nói là khi tham ái thì đắm vào ngũ dục, vì không được dẫn dắt bởi trí tuệ, vì chỉ có trí tuệ mới làm suy giảm và phòng hộ được xấu căn. Nhưng khi đời sống có một chút thanh tịnh thì cũng không dẫn dắt bởi trí tuệ thì lại vướng vào muốn tái sanh vào cảnh tốt đẹp. Vậy con muốn hỏi là con muốn nghe thêm về con đường trung đạo dẫn dắt từ mức độ sinh khởi, sơ khởi cho tới xuyên suốt con đường ạ. Xin cảm ơn.
Cho con hỏi một chút là cái đoạn mà cô nói đó là toàn bộ đoạn đấy là trích dẫn từ trong chú giải hay là cái đoạn nửa đầu thôi ạ?
Nó ở trong quyển Thanh Tịnh Đạo á chị.
Trong cuốn Thanh Tịnh Đạo.
Dạ.
Vâng. Nhưng mà toàn bộ đoạn đó, tức là cái vế một thứ nhất là nói là khi mà chìm đắm ở trong ngũ dục, đúng không ạ? Vâng. Thế còn đoạn sau là nói là khi mà có thanh tịnh một chút thì lại
do dẫn dắt không bởi trí tuệ.
Cũng là ở trong Thanh Tịnh Đạo.
Dạ.
Thế còn chú giải kinh Lậu Hoặc thì lại là, vì cô nói đến chú giải kinh Lậu Hoặc
là nó nằm trong cái phần chú giải kinh Lậu Hoặc
chứ không phải Thanh Tịnh Đạo, đúng không ạ?
Dạ, chú giải Thanh Lậu Hoặc,
kinh Lậu Hoặc. Dạ. Okay, so she would like to ask the question according to what she read in the commentary to the Sabbasava Sutta. It said that when one is infatuated in the five sense pleasures, then one cannot develop understanding. But when there is a little detachment from sense pleasures, but without understanding, it leads just to more rebirth. So she'd like to ask the middle way to really can get to the other end of the path and liberation.
The middle way is the right path, the one path, the development of understanding of the truth that we've been discussing. And this is the only way that leads to the eradication of defilements, the eradication of the asavas, the subtle defilements as well. And the only way that the path leads to becoming an arahat, kin asava, no more asavas, no more rebirth. The first example you gave, when infatuated by sense objects cannot develop understanding, it means at the moment of being so attached to what is seen now, what is heard now, at that moment of clinging infatuation, however great or however little, no understanding at those moments of attachment. It doesn't mean that there cannot be understanding at other times, but at the moments of clinging, especially strong clinging, no conditions for understanding whilst there is that clinging. And the second example is that when there is just a little detachment, it leads to more rebirth. It means that when there is some understanding developing now, it's not firm enough to eradicate the defilements. So birth continues on, life continues on. The continual stream of samsara, birth after birth, continues on because it's just a little understanding, not firm enough to even directly understand the truth. The development of satipatthana, which is the path leading out of the continual cycle of rebirth. The Buddha talked about in the commentaries the building of blocks, the building of bricks in samsara. So all the kusala now, as well as the akusala, is building blocks in samsara. Only moments of direct understanding and vipassana is leading out of samsara. So the beginning of understanding is the beginning of understanding. It is the condition for the direct understanding, for the development of satipatthana. But until it is firm and it is the direct understanding, it doesn't lead out of samsara.
Can the person who has strong attachment to the five senses also have moments of kusala in daily life? For example, kindness to others, generosity, and so on.
Dạ có.
Yes, of course. Because there are different moments in life. Even when the accumulated tendencies are such that there is strong attachment to the sense objects, there are other accumulated tendencies also. Accumulations of kusala. Everyone is different in that regard. But let's say that for everyone there are some accumulations for kusala. And the development of the path, the Buddha's path, is also a matter of accumulated tendencies. Because everyone who's here has heard the Dhamma before, has had interest in the Dhamma before. Otherwise there wouldn't be the interest in this lifetime. And so, as Sarah said, the Buddha is not saying, for example, that the strong attachment or infatuation of the senses has to be somehow reduced before the path can be developed. But they are different moments. And so there should not be the mindset that, no chance for me to develop understanding because I have such strong attachment to this, that, and the other. In fact, the attachment itself can be the object of understanding, not at the same moment, but at subsequent moments. And the constant theme of the Buddha's teaching when he taught to the listeners was the development of understanding. And this can begin regardless of how much agusala still remains.
We are sitting in this room. Is there any idea where to go? Or just sit in this room? Where to go? Or no idea at all? When there's no understanding, I'll go out to somewhere I would like to go. Is that the path leading to understand what is there now, that actually there is no thing, no one. There are only the ultimate reality appearing, but no understanding the truth of it. What is it and how come it appears? No understanding at all. So now, where to go? I know where to go. Somewhere to go, or which where to go. If there's no considering, can there be the understanding of something or anything or what is there right now at all? No thought about seeing, no thought about what is seen, no thought about sound and the hearing. So where to go? To go somewhere. But at that place, no understanding as while there is sitting here, the same, no matter where to go or what to do or what is there, unknown. But as soon as hearing about the truth of what is there now, beginning to consider, is it true? But it does not appear as it is so true, that is only that which is seen. So consider the very subtle truth realized by the Buddha after so long development of understanding of what is there until it is realized as it is. Not anyone is seen. No rose, no table, no chair is seen. Only that which can be seen. No matter what today, any day, there is only a reality which is seen. So where to go? The way, middle way, we use this word. The way to where? If there's no understanding, we just go around as usual. No understanding of what is there each moment. That's why learning about the truth, the ultimate truth, and begin to have firm confidence of the truth as such, never change, so firm, adidana, and with patience, but it cannot be easily realized the nature of no one here, only visible object. Is that true? So where to go? Because we talk about the path or the way, middle way to go to where? To understand the truth of what is there right now. Is it the way or no way? And how can there be just sudden understanding of what is there now? As we heard, no one here. That's why it takes time to consider, to have confidence of the truth of Dhamma. Dhamma is not anyone at all. It is a reality. Each reality is different by conditions. The seeing is not thinking, it's not liking, it's not worrying. What is there is so real. Without its proper conditions, it cannot arise at all, no matter what here or there. Beginning to understand what is the way to go, to understand the truth of what is there right now. So that is the word middle path. So learn to understand each word, why it's middle, why it's not left or right, but it's middle. It's not just hearing the word and thinking that is the understanding, but in truth, no understanding enough of the word and of the reality, which is the real path. That's why each word should be considered so very carefully from one word, Dhamma. The way to realize the truth of Dhamma is middle way, without attachment or aversion, left or right, but it's so straight to the truth right now. Seeing has a reason, otherwise they cannot be seen right now. And at the moment of seeing, there is hearing and thinking, different moment. It cannot be at the same moment at all. And this is the way to go to the truth, which is now, as it has been enlightened by the enlightened one. So does it take quite a long, long time to begin to hear, to listen carefully, to consider whether it's true, ultimate truth or not. There is seeing right now. It's conditioned. Without condition, there can never be seeing. And seeing is conditioned to arise. As soon as it has a reason, it's gone. Because conditions it just to arise. And it has reason, so it's gone. Is this the way? Understanding what is there right now. Gradually, little by little, be truthful to the truth of each word about the truth, to seeing right now. And without understanding develops on and on and on. Seeing cannot appear. So it needs virya to have firm confidence, satya, of the truth. Not to go somewhere, not to do anything. That's not the way. That's why it's not the middle way. The middle way has to be a moment of no attachment, no aversion. Is that right? In daily life. But it's more subtle than that. Not just no attachment or no aversion, but understanding has to be there too. Without right understanding, how can anyone know what's the way? No understanding at all. But the way to what? It has to be considered too. Not just is the way. The way to what? To where? To no understanding. To have more attachment. Or beginning to understand what is attached is not there at all anymore. No matter what is there now, it's gone so very rapidly. Is that true? Beginning to consider the truth of what is heard. Otherwise, right understanding cannot develop. To where? To realize the truth of this moment. So at moment of hearing about the middle way, the way to what? To realize the truth of this very moment, no matter it's sound or smell or hearing or seeing, they're all real because it's there by conditions. And this is the path leading to let go ignorance and know where to go, not to ignorance, not to attachment, not to aversion, not to any unwholesome realities. So each word is so very subtle. That's why without careful considering, there can never be the moment of a little more, understanding of the truth. And when there is understanding, do we have to follow the word, try to say what is said? Not at all. Not that way at all. The understanding right now works its way. When it's firm, no doubt about it. What's the way to what? To where? And is the moment of developing, understanding the way, otherwise one might go wrong without firm confidence and understanding of the truth. So begin to understand what is the way, to where, and when it's middle way, why is middle? Straight to the truth. Now is so true. When will it get closer, the way to realize the truth? It's so long. 3 rounds of what Buddha said about the truth right now. Pariyati, Patipatti, Patipeda. So without understanding, just repeat. Is it Pariyati? Each word of the Buddha condition right understanding deeper and deeper and deeper to the moment of what is the now arises and falls away. Otherwise, it's useless to teach if there is no one who follow the path with understanding. Not I, but what is there is a reality. Is this the middle way? Beginning to know what is there now. It's not anyone or anything. Be truthful to what appears, only that which can be seen. Is that right? Right or wrong? When it's right, it is middle way. The way to understand the truth of what is there right now. Very, very little. So very subtle. Nothing to be done. Because understanding is a reality. No matter what is real, it's a reality. So when we use the word understanding, it's not no understanding what is there, but it begins to understand. This moment, what is seen is real, and it's only one reality which can be seen. Sound, smell cannot be seen. Hardness cannot be seen. Only that reality right now is seen, one reality. And if you'd like to understand the word in Pali, we can learn to understand it little by little. What is seen in Pali? Kunrit. Who says Jakku Pasada?
He said Jakku Vinan.
Jakku
Vijnana, she
See,
said.
it's time to discuss, to have one's own understanding deeper and deeper. When that is the answer, it is Jakku Pasada. It means that that person knows what Jakku Pasada is. Otherwise, how can there be the answer? It is Jakku Pasada. So, what is Jakku Pasada? Not just follow when one says Jakku Pasada is seen. What is Jakku Pasada? When it's added Jakku Pasada Rupa, there can be a little more understanding when there is the understanding what Rupa is, but just Jakku Pasada. Who knows? What is the meaning of Rupa? And is Jakku Pasada Rupa? Or Jakku Pasada is that which is seen? It's not just read and follow the word, but each word should be very carefully considered. Otherwise, there will never be the understanding of what is there right now, each moment from birth to death. It has to be direct. to be truthful to the truth of this moment. What is that? So, what is Jakupasada?
Sắc mắt trong suốt ạ, để có thể nhìn được màu sắc ạ.
So he said that
Nhận
is
biết được màu sắc.
that is the rupa which is inside the eyes and is transparent and it can be impinged by the visible object.
Again, please.
Yes. Anh có thể.
Okay.
He said that it's a rupa which is in the eyes. It is transparent, and it can be impinged by the visible object.
So, just one reality and one word at a time. What is Jakupasada? Shortly.
It's the rupa.
It's a rupa.
Rupa. What is rupa? What is rupa?
Jakupasada rupa.
No.
Trong rupa.
No, just rupa. What is rupa?
Tức là Achan muốn cho mọi người hiểu từng từ một cách rất chắc chắn, cho nên bây giờ mình sẽ giải thích từng từ một. Rupa là gì ạ?
Rupa, như con được biết là sắc ạ, là vật chất.
It's materiality. He said it's rupa is materiality.
Going through step by step to really understand the words that we use. Otherwise, we just say quickly, oh, what we have heard, Jakupasada is a rupa which visible object can impinge on, and it's clear, and so on and so on, and it's in the eyes. But one word at a time. Okay, rupa, it's materiality. What does it mean, it's materiality?
When you say any word like rupa, are you saying that it's not known? Just talk about it. Rupa, but no understanding what is it. Just talk about it all day. Rupa, rupa. But we don't have the intention or the benefit to just use the word rupa. But what is it? Is it real?
This, có thể là nhìn được màu sắc ạ, xanh đỏ ở trong các cái màu đó.
Bây giờ Achan đang hỏi là nó có thực không ạ? Is it real? Anh có thể nói tiếng Anh trả lời bằng tiếng Anh luôn.
Sắc. Thì theo con được biết là sắc là có thật, nhưng mà chỉ là màu sắc là color ấy.
Anh nói bằng tiếng Anh được đúng không?
Không ạ.
He said that according to my knowledge, it's real and it's just color.
What do you mean by your knowledge? Does understanding belong to anyone?
Ý là
Does understanding belong to you? My knowledge, my understanding. What did Buddha say? Any idea can be answered at moment of considering the word Buddha said. Dhamma, what is it? Be truthful to each word from the very beginning, firmer and firmer. And that's the way, the middle way, leading to the eradication of akusala, ignorance and all other kinds of akusala and wholesome realities. They are there now unknown. Akusala Dhamma, wholesome unwholesome reality. But who knows So who tries to eradicate it without understanding what is it? It's impossible. It's more and more akusala, more and more ignorance. That's why each word should be considered very carefully to have firm confidence of each word of the truth. Dhamma, Rupa. What is Dhamma and what is Rupa? Begin to understand what is there now, not just in words. What is Dhamma? Firmer and firmer. No matter what, it's real, it's a Dhamma. Right? So, what is Dhamma right now? It's the word, but what is it right now? Because the meaning of Dhamma is not just the word, but what is there now real? It's so real. It's not anyone or anything, but it's a reality. It has its own characteristic as it now appearing, but no understanding of it. For example, visible object, that which is seen any time, any moment, even now in this room, but no understanding of it. Just remember what is real is Dhamma, but in truth, no understanding of Dhamma yet, only remember the word. Otherwise, there has to be the understanding of the truth, the nature, the characteristic of one reality at a time to understand it. It's not a table, it's not anyone, but it is only reality which is seen at moment of seeing only. This is the way to let go ignorance and the idea of self. Nothing to be done because what is now or any time is conditioned reality, just arise and falls away. So it does matter to learn a lot from the book, but what about the truth of Dhamma now? Is it known or not known yet? So understand more about Dhamma. So now please, what Dhamma is there now? Or none? Just a moment.
Đây là câu hỏi đấy ạ.
Is the sound a Dhamma?
Dạ thưa là con thấy là sẽ có sắc và thọ và tưởng và hành và thức ạ. Thì trong cái lúc được nghe bà nói thì con có nghĩ đến xem là tâm mình là đang là tâm thiện, lắng nghe, chú tâm lắng nghe với những cái lời của bà nói ạ. Hiện tại con chỉ mới nghĩ được đến thế thôi ạ.
So there are Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, and Sankhara, and Vijnana. And when I am listening to you, I also check whether the chittas that are listening to you at this moment are kusala or not. At this point, it's that much that I can notice.
What is that? Thinking, or seeing, or hearing? Not precise yet, because not enough conditions to have firm confidence of Dhamma. And what is Rupa?
Câu hỏi lại một lần nữa, sắc là gì ạ?
Earlier you said that rupa is materiality. But what is materiality? What is the distinction between rupa and nama? What makes rupa rupa? Why is sound rupa, not nama?
như con mới được biết là sắc thì có 28 sắc thật. Thì cũng xin bà giải thích để phân biệt Nama với cả Rupa theo một cái thực tính.
As far as I know, there are 28 kinds of rupas. So I would like to hear your explanation on the difference between Nama and Rupa. Thank you.
So we learn a lot of details in the book, like about the khandas that you mentioned, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana, or we learn the 28 rupas. But what is Rupa now? What is hardness now? It's just a Dhamma that doesn't experience anything. The hardness doesn't hear, the hardness doesn't think, the hardness doesn't experience any object at all. It's just the reality that arises and falls away that is experienced now, touched now, but it doesn't experience anything at all. When you talk about the other Dhammas, like the ones you mentioned, Vedana, Sanya, and so on, they all experience an object. Namas can experience an object, but Rupas cannot experience anything at all. So sound that is heard can be heard, but sound doesn't know anything. It doesn't remember anything. It doesn't feel anything. It doesn't mind whether it's heard or not. It's just the sound, just the rupa that is experienced at this moment. So when we talk about the middle way, we can read the commentary and think it means something like in between what you mentioned, strong infatuation or attachment and a little understanding. It's not that at all, because that is not the middle way. The middle way has to be the development of understanding, the development of path, the understanding of the truth of what appears now. Sound is heard now. It appears. It's just that Dhamma, so we call it Rupa. It just means it doesn't experience anything. Hardness now is touched. It doesn't know anything. It's just the reality that is experienced. That is Rupa. And like you say, the Rupa, the hardness, has to impinge on a pasada Rupa, body sense. The sound has to impinge on ear sense. If there is no body sense or no ear sense, no hardness is experienced, no sound is heard. So the body sense is another Rupa. It doesn't experience anything. The ear sense is another Rupa. It doesn't experience anything. So these sense spaces, ear sense, nose sense, smell sense, taste sense, body sense, these are the pasada rupas, the 5 sense spaces. They don't know anything. Eye sense cannot see, ear sense cannot hear, because they are rupas. They rise and fall away by conditions, but they don't experience anything at all. Otherwise, if we just say materiality, what does it mean? Someone who's never heard the Buddha's teachings may say this is materiality, but no understanding of Rupa, the reality that is experienced now but doesn't experience anything at all.
Dạ, trong cái đoạn này cho con hỏi thêm tí là cái phần mà em nói tiếng Anh luôn nhỉ? I add another question on the body sense. The body sense arise at the whole for the, because when touching at the hand can hardness be feel or at everywhere on seem everywhere, the feeling can experience. So my question is, where's arise?
So the body sense, pasada, rupa, arises and falls away all over what we call the body. In truth, there is no body, but the body sense arises and falls away here and here and here and here, all over the body. So when hardness impinges on the body sense, it may be on any body sense pasada rupa at any part of the body. That's why we know when we speak conventionally, my foot hurts or my arm hurts. Actually, no foot or arm, but there is body sense rupa at each of those points. So the hardness can impinge at any of those places at that pasada rupa. Each one is conditioned by karma, arises and falls away instantly. So the body sense rupas, even now, all arising and falling away all the time, conditioned by karma. But at the moment of experiencing hardness, understanding hardness, no thought about where does it impinge or where is the body sense, because it's just hardness that is experienced at that moment. But afterwards there's thinking, oh, it is hardness in my arm or my leg or different places. But the hardness itself is just hardness.
So you mean many body sense point arising and falling away at
Many
the whole?
body sense rupas arising and falling away all the time,
Okay.
even now. Countless body sense rupas conditioned by karma arising and falling away in the back where nothing is seen, anywhere, in the toes, in the hands, different body sense rupas arising and falling away. But it depends on conditions, whether any hardness, whether any rupa impinges on any body sense pasada rupa or not. And only if it has impinged on a particular body sense pasada rupa can there be the touching or the experiencing of hardness. Only one at a time.
And they run independently or any connection? Because there are many points, right? And I mean, they are arising and falling away at the same time, or
Countless
whatever.
Countless rupas arising and falling away at the same time, different times, for all the bodies in the room.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter, because what's important is what can be known, what can be understood now. If no hardness has impinged on the body sense at a moment of seeing or moment of hearing, no hardness to be known. So only when the hardness impinges and is experienced can the characteristic be known by way of nimitta. Many, many hardnesses before it is the nimitta that is known.
Thank you.
Cho con tiếp nối câu này một chút được không ạ? Con chưa hiểu rõ. Về như sắc, cảnh sắc in dấu lên nhãn căn hay là âm thanh in dấu lên nhĩ căn thì nó ở một thời điểm thì con thấy rõ rồi, nhưng như ở thân căn như bà vừa nói nó có vô số. Vậy thì cái tính chất thực ấy nó cũng chỉ có một ở một thời điểm. Vậy thì cái vô số ấy con vẫn chưa hình dung ra là cái sắc thân căn nó sẽ in dấu các đối tượng của nó như thế nào.
So when we learned about a visible object impinging on eye sense or sound impinging on ear sense, is it clear it's just one at a time? But when you mentioned that there are countless body sense, rupas, arising all the time. So I'm not so clear about whether it's just one object at a time or is it any different?
There can only be one moment of experiencing at a time. So at a moment of seeing, there cannot be a moment of hearing. The moment of touching, there cannot be any other moment. So the experiencing can only be of one rupa that is impinged on one sense space at a time. One rupa and one kalapa impinging on one sense space at a time. But it doesn't mean that there aren't many other rupas arising and falling away, but no conditions for them to be experienced. So there are countless body sense rupas arising and falling away, but no conditions for an object, a hardness, to impinge and be experienced, because if it's time for seeing, it's not time for body consciousness. So it depends at this moment what reality has impinged and what conditions there are to experience it. So many body sense rupas arising and falling away, but it doesn't mean that many objects are impinging or that anything can be known about them. So only one at a time.
Hình như chưa rõ câu của con, vì con không quan tâm lắm đến sắc nhãn căn và sắc nhĩ căn. Nhưng mà con quan tâm là như vậy thì ngay một đặc tính cứng hay nóng hay lạnh hay căng trùng thì nó cũng chỉ có một được kinh nghiệm ở một thời điểm. Như vậy thì có vô số, ở đây là vô số các cái đặc tính của
vô số sắc thân căn,
vô số sắc thân căn, và cũng chỉ một đối tượng được kinh nghiệm ở một
vâng,
thời
chỉ
điểm
có
đó.
một tâm sinh khởi ở một thời điểm kinh nghiệm một đối tượng thôi ạ.
Có nghĩa là vô số sắc thân căn và vô số các đối tượng, nhưng mà sự kinh nghiệm chỉ có một. Con rõ rồi.
Vâng, chị Phu Long đợi một chút để hỏi xem sư cô có còn câu hỏi nào thêm không ạ? Sau phần giảng của Achan và các vị ạ.
We can dream about all the...
I think now she just confused a little bit, but then when she was speaking, she already realized.
I think it's easy to get lost in the story about all the different pasada rupas at all the different points and what is arising and falling away unknown, like all the rupas arising and falling away in the garden outside that aren't experienced. But what is important is what is actually experienced now, because only that is what can be known. So that's why we come back to the hardness touched now, or the sound that is heard now.
Dạ vâng, mời chị.
Nam mô Buddhaya, Nam mô Dhammaya, Nam mô Sanghaya. Giờ con xin phép trả lời theo cái suy nghĩ của con lúc nãy câu hỏi của bà hỏi là về pháp hiện tại là gì, thì pháp hiện tại ở đây là cái thực tại. Thì pháp có hai loại là pháp thiện và pháp bất thiện. Thì ở đây là đang pháp thiện đang sanh khởi, và ở đây là có nhãn thức và nhị thức đang sanh khởi, lắng nghe những lời giảng, lời dạy của Đức Phật ạ. Dạ, xin hết ạ.
She just wanted to answer to Achan's question earlier. What is Dhamma? She said there are two kinds of Dhamma, Kusala Dhamma and Akusala Dhamma. And when listening to Achan speaking about the Buddha's teaching, is it Kusala Dhamma?
Can listening be Kusala?
Dạ, trong cái nghe thì cũng như là cái nghe thì cái cũng như là cái sắc nó chỉ là cảnh, thế nhưng mà khi cái tâm bắt cái nghe đấy đó là nhãn thức, là sẽ rất là cái cảnh thiện hiện tại ngay ở đây, là cái nhị thức, là cái thức thiện.
Chị nói trả lời đó là tâm thiện đúng không ạ?
Vâng,
Pháp thiện đúng không ạ? She said it's kusala dhamma.
Can listening be kusala dhamma?
Bởi vì tâm nhãn thức có phải là loại tâm thiện không ạ? Chị có biết rõ điều này không? Tâm nhị thức, tâm nghe.
Thực ra cái tâm nghe ấy, là nó sẽ có như cũng như là pháp thực tại ấy, nó sẽ có là cái thiện hoặc là cái bất thiện. Khi cái cảnh nó bắt đấy thì cái nhị thức nó sẽ là bắt cái thiện hay là cái bất thiện. Nhưng mà hiện nay ở đây đang nói ở đây thì là cái là tâm thiện này.
I think she doesn't. She just said it's kusala.
What is kusala?
The chitta which hears.
The chitta which hears is the hearing, right?
Tâm là nghe thì đúng là chỉ là cái nghe, chỉ biết là cái nghe, đang nghe, tâm đang nghe hoặc tâm đang thấy.
Yeah, she said that. Tại vì chị nói là đó là tâm thiện ạ. Thì thực ra là có đúng đó là tâm thiện hay không thì bây giờ đang là cái phần để Achan sẽ hỏi để chị trả lời. Thì Achan có hỏi chị là khi mà nói đến cái tâm nghe đó thì nó cũng là cái nghe, là cái khoảnh khắc nghe âm thanh đó phải không ạ? Yes, she said.
Is there hearing now? What hears?
Dạ, cái tâm là đang nghe ạ.
The chitta which hears.
So what is chitta which hears?
Thực ra thì cái nói về cái giữa cái danh pháp và sắc pháp ấy, cái sắc pháp thì nó được hợp thành là tứ đại, là đất nước lửa gió. Thế còn cái tâm là cái danh pháp là nó sẽ bắt cảnh.
So she said that there are two kinds of dhamma. The rupa is made from the mahabhuta rupas, and the chitta is that which experiences an object.
So what is hearing?
Cái nghe là cái thính thức.
Is the sota vijnana.
The word. So what is sota and what is vijnana?
Cái nghe nó là âm thanh, cái tâm là nó cái bắt cái âm thanh đó.
Is the chitta that experiences a sound.
So now, chitta sees, chitta hears. What is chitta?
Nếu mà nói về tâm ở đây thì nó có 121 tâm, thì trong đó có 89
Tại
tâm.
vì hỏi là tâm là gì ạ?
Cái tâm thì là cái tâm thì mình hiểu là danh pháp thôi, tức là cái tâm là đang biết đấy.
Is the nama dhamma and is that which knows.
What is nama dhamma or what are nama dhammas?
Thế như mình học thì cũng mới học, thế nhưng mà cái danh pháp ở đây thì mình biết là trong cái tâm ấy, thì nó có 121 tâm, nó có 89 tâm sở, 52 sở hữu tâm và có 89 tâm và 52 tâm sở và 28 sắc pháp.
She just said that there are 121 chittas and 28 rupas, and sometimes in other classification 89 rupas.
Are they different? 121 chittas, are they different?
Dạ, khó khác nhau.
Yes, they are different.
What is the difference between each chitta?
ở đây thì có trong 89 tâm thì có 54 tâm dục giới, 27 tâm đao đại và 40 tâm siêu thế.
Cộng lại lại không bằng.
Cũng không nhớ lắm từ vì bất chợt rằng đây là
54 Kamavachara Rupas, 27 Maha Kusala Rupas.
Dạ thì
This isn't the way to study Dhamma. This is a way to remember numbers and details, but it's not the way to understand what is nama now, what is rupa now, what is hearing now. Because you mentioned before that you know all the numbers, you've read all the books, but what about hearing now? What kind of citta is it? Because you said the hearing is kusala now. How can the hearing which arises now, which is a vipaka citta, a result of karma, how can it be kusala? Because the hearing now, it just arises with 7 chaitasikas. It's ahetuka, no root. It cannot be kusala at the moment of hearing now. So we have to consider each word very carefully, like hearing, what is it, what kind of Dhamma it is. It doesn't matter what words we use, Pali, English, Vietnamese, it doesn't matter what number it is, but it's the reality at this very moment. Otherwise we have the idea, now I'm sitting in the discussion for 90 minutes and they're all kusala cittas. It's not like that. At a moment of hearing, or a moment of seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, it cannot be kusala because it's result, vipaka. But there is a little, when we talk about listening, actually I am not sure exactly what is being referred to, because hearing is very clear in English, sota vijnana citta is the citta which is the result of karma, which hears sound. It cannot be kusala or akusala. But when we talk about listening to someone speaking, usually it means not just hearing, but thinking about the meaning. So when there is thinking about the meaning of what is heard, it can be kusala or akusala. But even then, how long does the kusala last for?
Ra là cái tâm thiện thì nó kéo dài, thực ra nó trong sanh diệt rất là nhanh. Chứ còn hiện tại thì với hiếu viết rất là ít ỏi, chỉ biết là trong nơi đây là đang cái tâm thiện nó sinh khởi bằng sự biết thôi.
She said that as far as she knows, the citta arise and pass away very quickly. So does the kusala cittas. But she just knows roughly that when we are listening to Dhamma like this, they are kusala Dhammas.
So roughly it's not accurate, it's just like a conventional idea. Oh, I went to the temple, or I gave gifts to my friends, so it was kusala. But this is not the study of Dhamma. This is just conventional thinking. Oh, my friend was so kind, kusala cittas. Because kusala is just for a moment. So even now, whilst listening, considering what is heard, moments of hearing, vipaka cittas, no kusala or akusala. Other vipaka cittas, no kusala or akusala. Moments of considering wisely or unwisely. Moments when there is doubt or confusion. What is the term? What does ajan mean? How should I answer? Is it kusala or akusala? So even during a Dhamma discussion, many more moments of akusala, many more moments with ignorance, with attachment, with confusion, aversion, doubt, than kusala. So this is what is meant by being truthful and considering one word at a time, not just assuming, oh, I'm listening to the Dhamma, so roughly it's mostly all kusala. This is just wishful thinking. So it doesn't matter how much book knowledge we have about the terms, the details, the numbers. What's important is the understanding now. Understanding doubt is doubt, confusion is confusion. Not just, oh, roughly it's all kusala because I'm listening to the Dhamma, or I've got my headphones on and I've turned on the Dhamma tape. So it's always back to this moment and being truthful. And it's not a matter of, I forget the words you use, like attending to the object. It's not so quickly the idea of I attending or focusing on the object comes in. So I comes in very quickly. I concentrating on what's said, or I trying to understand the meaning. So many akusala cheaters whilst listening, more and more to be known, no matter how long we've listened or considered or studied. Still, more and more akusala to be known, even whilst listening.
Thưa Achan, thì để tiếp nối cái vấn đề vừa rồi, có một cái vấn đề con chưa được rõ, và con nó muốn hỏi dựa trên một cái quan điểm của những cái người mà cố gắng giải thích Phật giáo, những cái vấn đề về vật chất của Phật giáo trong dưới góc độ khoa học ấy. Thì cái gọi là các cái căn trong 6 căn đó thì nó ví dụ như căn mắt, căn thân, căn tai, căn mũi thì nó bản chất nó là các cái tế bào thần kinh, và cái sự mà tiếp nhận cái tín hiệu từ bên ngoài vào nó là thông qua các cái sự rung động, tác động lên các cái tế bào thần kinh này. Thì có phải là các cái căn đấy nó tương ứng với các cái tế bào thần kinh không? Và ở mỗi một vị trí thì cái tế bào thần kinh này đóng một cái vai trò khác nhau. Và có một cái sự liên hệ đối với một cái bộ kinh trong Kinh Lăng Nghiêm, đó là khi mà mình tu tập đến một cái giai đoạn nhất định thì các cái căn này có thể thay thế cho nhau. Vì bản chất nó chỉ là các cái tế bào thần kinh và nó tiếp nhận các cái rung động từ bên ngoài. Nên khi nó ở một cái vị trí khác nhau thì nó đóng một cái vai trò khác nhau, và chúng ta có các cái tên gọi là các cái căn khác nhau. Và bản chất của Pháp cũng như các cái thứ khác thì mọi thứ nó chỉ là các cái sự rung động mà thôi. Cái này có đúng không? Dưới quan điểm của Achan và quan điểm của Đức Phật.
Back to the topic of Rupa, he would like to make a comparison between the way science understands about the different nervous system and the sense basis according to the Buddha's teaching. According to science, the different sense bases, like we say, they can receive the vibration from outside. So in the Buddha's way, it is said that it's impinged by the different objects. And according to one sutta in the Mahayana teaching, when someone attains a very high level of developments, then the different kinds of sense bases can be changed, like they are called eyes base or ear base just because of the location, but in truth they're just the same in everywhere, and then they can be interchanged. So what is your point of view, or what is the Buddha's point of view on this? Thank you.
The Buddha's teaching is about what is life at the present moment. And that involves, of course, for us at this moment, seeing and hearing, and thinking about what has been seen and heard. And those are realities, the actual moment of seeing consciousness, the actual moment of hearing consciousness, the mind door processes that think about what has been seen or heard. These are all different kinds of dhammas. And it is the understanding of the true nature of these realities that is the subject of the Buddha's teaching. So the question of how the visible object comes to be the object of seeing, or how a particular sound comes to be the object of hearing, is not the main concern of the Buddha's teaching. And for us, certainly, these things can actually be a distraction from paying attention to what is useful. Because whether we know the Buddha's description of how realities come to be an object of sensed or perception, or whether we know the scientific explanation for how that comes to be, has nothing to do with what is the actual nature and characteristic of those moments of perception or the objects being perceived at that moment. So if one is interested, as we were saying yesterday, in studying more about the descriptions that are found in the Abhidhamma, for example, about the jittas in the sense door process, the moments of consciousness in the sense door process, then the information is there to be learnt, and it can be useful. For example, if one has a strong idea that there must be a self who is controlling the proceedings, it may be useful to appreciate that there is another way of thinking about things. But the main area of interest is the realities that are appearing and what their nature is, and how the realities come to be there is not part of that. The other thing that comes to be known in time as understanding develops of different realities is the conditions, the way that realities are related to each other, because everything is happening by conditions. And so the experiencing now of visible object or sound, we learn, is conditioned by deeds from in the past. But that kind of relationship is not apparent, at least the sense base and the consciousness. The sense base, both the sense base and the consciousness are conditioned by past deeds. They're resultant dhammas. But again, for us, we don't need to be too concerned with those conditioning factors. In terms of the idea of different bases being able to be changed, that is not found in the teachings of the Theravada tradition. So that is a novel concept that I've heard for the first time today.
Like we said, the body sense rupa which arises in a group of 10 rupas, conditioned by karma from the first moment of life, arises and falls away all over the body throughout life. And even for the Buddha, still the body sense rupas arise and fall away in the groups, and the eye sense rupas arise and fall away, the ear sense never change. So even for the Buddha, seeing still experiences an object that has impinged on eye sense, hearing still experiences an object that has impinged on ear sense, touching experiences an object that impinges on body sense. So those rupas conditioned by karma, as Jonathan said, can never change or merge or change their characteristics. The characteristic of body sense is always different from the characteristic of ear sense or eye sense, no matter whether there's any understanding or not, no matter whether one is a murderer or a Buddha, just the same realities.
And I'd like to add one short comment about the Buddha's description of the sense door experiencing and the scientific version of that. We know there's a difference there, but the scientific version is of a different domain than the Dhamma description, because it is based on observation that can be verified by another person in the same way by following a certain procedure. And the scientific description of the sense door process will change over the ages, as we know. For example, as new scientific methods become known. But what the Buddha described as regards the nature of the present moment is as true now as it was when he taught it, because he was describing universal truths, truths that are valid for any being at any time, whereas the scientific description of things changes naturally over time. It has its validity, it has its uses, but it is a different way of approaching things altogether.
Thưa Achan và chú Chonsara, cái lúc đầu mà chúng ta nói về cái sắc gọi là chắc khú Pasada đó, thì cái sắc khú Pasada đó thì nó không phải là cái đối tượng thị giác. Mà lúc đấy sư nghe là nó là đối tượng thị giác thì nó không có đúng, bởi vì đối tượng thị giác nó thuộc về sắc pháp ở bên ngoài và nó là sắc cảnh sắc. Còn cái chắc khú Pasada thì nó là sắc thần kinh chứ nó không phải là sắc cảnh sắc.
Vâng, nhưng mà cũng không có ai nói là nó là sắc đối tượng thị giác đâu ạ. Không ai nói vậy ạ. Của người phát biểu. Because it seems that there's someone who said that the Chakku Pasada is the visible object, so he just wanted to say that they are different realities.
Yes, the Chakku Pasada, the eye sense, is the rupa that is conditioned by karma, which the visible object impinges on. The rupa itself, the Chakku rupa itself, is the visible object that impinges on the pasada rupa. It's not conditioned by karma. If it's outside the body, it's conditioned by temperature. If it's inside the body, then it can be conditioned by any of the four conditions of that cause rupa to arise.
Mời Bích.
Dạ con kính chào thầy. Dạ con có một câu hỏi. Ví dụ như là những cái cảm nhận qua thân. Ví dụ như là con vẫn thấy cái sự nóng, lạnh, cứng, mềm. Thì cái thấy này có khác gì với cái thấy trực tiếp mà hướng đến bên trang học không ạ?
Tức là khi kinh nghiệm cứng mềm nóng lạnh qua thân.
Dạ, cái biết bình thường vậy thôi chị. Ví dụ như là chạm vào tay thì thấy mềm, ngồi xuống thì có thể cứng hay gì đó, thì mình thì vẫn biết được những cái cảm thọ đó. Thì em không biết là cái này nó có khác gì với cái kinh nghiệm trực tiếp mà thấy cái cứng. Yeah.
Okay. She said, when I experience hardness or heat or cold, yes, it's experienced directly, but it is the same than when you mentioned about these objects are being experienced directly. I believe when we talk about understanding, so that's the question about.
Usually when people come and they hear about the teachings for the first time, they say, why are you talking so much about seeing and hearing and hardness? Because I know the seeing and hearing, and I know that what I touch is hard, and why do we have to come and keep discussing this? But the point is, yes, I know it's hard when I touch the table, but is it I touching? Is it the table that is hard? Or is it just the Dhamma that is understood? Is it just the Dhamma that is touching? Or is it I'm touching it and I know it's just touching? So that's why there has to be truthfulness. And is it hardness now that is touched, that is directly understood? Or is it thinking, yes, it must be hardness because this is what everyone's told me. Like the first time when we say what you touch, people say, oh, I touch a glass or touch the pen, and then they learn, oh, it's actually hardness that's touched. So then they can say it's hardness that is touched. But is that the direct understanding of the Dhamma, the characteristic? Or is it just considering that it must be hardness touched now? So only the panya, the understanding, can know and be truthful to what is actually known at this moment. What is seen now? You will answer visible object or color, but is there understanding of visible object, just that which is seen? Or is there so quickly the impression of colors, shapes, something there?
Yeah.
I think when there's the experiencing of heat and cold, as you mentioned, it's still the thinking about the heat and cold rather than the moment of directly experiencing those realities, because it could be so hot that it's painful, for example, but still there is just the ordinary way of experiencing that. It is not the fact that there's any recognition of heat as a Dhamma, an element that is being experienced as such. So it's just like thinking I'm angry, for example, or I have attachment to the coffee. It's there and anyone can know it. The person who wishes to develop calm will know that there is attachment and will appreciate that how it's been conditioned to arise. And the person who attains jhana has a very strong sense of knowing that some of the different kinds of mental factors, kusala and akusala, for example, but still there is not the direct understanding of those realities as conditioned realities. So as long as it's just ordinary everyday experiencing, even though it might be very apparent, then it's not awareness and understanding.
Gotcha.
Con rõ rồi ạ.
Okay, thank you. And tại sáng nay có chị Linh cũng đã đăng ký đặt câu hỏi. Says one lady who comes to the discussion for the first time, and I think she's too shy to ask the question. So she wanted me to ask on her behalf, and I think maybe it might be relevant to many people. So I will still ask the question, and the question regards something that is very common in the Vietnamese culture. Like in Vietnam, in our family, we worship the ancestors, and we have the altar where every half month we put some fruits or food to dedicate to our, deceased parents. And so as she comes to the discussion, she starts to wonder whether this kind of activities is still necessary to do or not.
What do you mean by activities?
I think she is shy. She doesn't want to stand up to answer.
But we are learning about the truth casually. What is the question? For everyone.
Ai khác có thể trả lời thay cho chị cũng được ạ. Cương giúp vậy.
Rất nhắc lại cái lời hỏi vừa rồi.
Câu hỏi ạ.
Vâng,
câu hỏi của chị là chị đang muốn hỏi vì xuất phát từ cái văn hóa của Việt Nam là thờ cúng ông bà tổ tiên, thì khi mà chị đến Pháp Đàm chị nghe một số buổi thì chị bắt đầu phân vân là không biết như vậy thì việc thờ cúng tổ tiên đó có còn cần thiết hay không, đúng không ạ?
Có nên nếu mà cái đó là thuộc về quan điểm văn hóa thì cũng có thể là cần thiết. Văn hóa cái chứ không phải về Phật giáo.
Thực ra đây là cháu nhắc lại câu hỏi của chị để ông bà trả lời á, thì còn chú có định giúp gì không ạ? Chú muốn đưa quan điểm của chú là dạ. Chú okay. He just wants to say that it's the cultural thing, and another person wants to say something, but để cho ông bà nói một chút đã rồi bạn có thể nói suy nghĩ của bạn thêm. Okay, please.
So the activities are activities which we think are kusala, different activities that people do because they believe it's wholesome to do that. Sometimes it's done as a tradition, and sometimes it's done in the belief that it will bring some result. So there's a difference there. So I just explained that because Ajahn asked what activities are we talking about.
In brief, what you do will depend on conditions. If you would like to do these if you would like to put out the fruits and the food, and it's the habit, it's all by conditions and by habit. But if you think this is the way to accumulate more merit, more kusala, then that's not the right understanding about dhammas. So if it's a burden and you would like to be free of this activity, let it go. But if you enjoy it, it's tradition, that's fine. But if one thinks that this will bring merit for the ancestors or oneself, this is not the right way.
And I would like to ask this question: why do we pay respect to our ancestors?
Tại vì đây là những ngày giỗ đó để anh em tụ tập lại và để theo cái truyền thống văn hóa để mà nhớ lại công ơn giáo dưỡng của bố mẹ, chứ cũng không nghĩ là đây là việc thiện thì không thiện.
Just it's an occasion for members of the family to gather and to have gratitude, to show gratitude to the ancestors. But in terms of kusala, this I don't think is necessarily kusala.
And what gratitude do we show to the ancestors? What gratitude do we owe to the ancestors?
Vừa nãy chú nói là công giáo dưỡng, còn gì nữa không ạ?
Đúng. Công giáo dưỡng.
Công giáo dưỡng còn gì nữa không ạ? Just because they have educated us, they have provided food and so on.
So that is in the case of one's parents, yes. What about the ancestors beyond the parents?
Vâng. Cũng thế ạ.
The same. Maybe they did that to our parents.
I think Mid-Autumn Festival is a good occasion for family to meet, and there are many opportunities for kusala, but if one just thinks that by putting out the food and the fruits that somehow this will be naturally merit, that's another matter. But I think it's a good habit for families to meet and appreciate good deeds of parents or anyone. Like yesterday was an anniversary of my mother's birthday, so my brothers and I exchanged a few words about her virtues, and it's like a little Thanksgiving. And then half an hour later, I heard that my last remaining aunt died yesterday, so anything can happen. But anyway, I was so glad that we had an opportunity to visit her in England quite recently, and again one can just show some appreciation to her family, or so in different ways. But it's the understanding only that will know what is kusala and what is beneficial, not just following the custom of putting fruit out and thinking that she will be able to receive it, or we just do what we can in our own way, that's all. The more understanding is what will help in any situation.
So in the Buddha's teaching, actually, one's own past deeds are one's ancestors, because the Buddha taught that one is the heir to one's past karma. But again, this doesn't mean that one can't follow tradition or cultural norms, cultural standards, and go through the ritual of offering whatever to the ancestors, but one understands the reality of the present moment, and one doesn't have the wrong idea that one's present situation is due to one's ancestors, because it's due to one's past karma.
Yes, maybe Achan will have more in the afternoon and other friends. So this morning we finish here. Và sáng nay chúng ta sẽ dừng lại buổi pháp đàm ở đây ạ. Sa du, sa du, sa du.